request. Oh, okay, there's Bella. She says hi, but I don't see her request. Wait, here it is maybe. Nope, that's just me making a comment. Go live with Bella. Oh my God. Working. I don't like this part. I gotta be honest. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
There she is. We did it.
We had no technical difficulties. Cyber high five.
Boom. Hi,
How
girl.
are
How are
you?
you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to do this.
I know. I told people as they come in to give us a word of the day, a word that captures how you're feeling. What's your word today, Bella?
Wow. My word is wow. So I'll say that I don't even have a great adjective word. So we debuted a new product called the Love Lab Workshop, and it's coming up this Saturday. It's the very first time, and we're doing this, and we're putting together all these materials and like going over the agenda. And so it's like a wow day for our team.
That's exciting. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That sounds great.
We're very excited. It's just to do, it's really tactical. It's about putting together an online profile. We've prepared a total step-by-step guide on exactly how to do it, Mad Libs template style. So we've never done anything like this before, just to take the intimidation out of it for people, and photo curation. So, and we're all going to work together on it in a very kind, supporting 3-hour workshop on Saturday. So
That's wonderful.
excited, nervous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whenever you're birthing something new, right? But it sounds so practical. It's like, I love how you are. That's so you, is practical and high touch and really like right there next to somebody as they're figuring stuff out. So I'm sure it's going to be just a wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. We're excited. So we're going to do another one because people have emailed us because we sold it out in 24 hours. So we're going to do another one. So if you guys are some of the people that have emailed us, we will launch another Love Lab within the next month. So hang tight, get on the wait list if you want to. So fun stuff. And I'm so excited to be here on a Tuesday going live, because Thursdays normally are our day to go live, and I'm so excited to be here with my pal Alexandra.
Nice to be with you. You know, people, I'm watching the words as they come in. I'm seeing people are saying inspired, optimistic, in process. I saw somebody else say low, and somebody say sad, and that really captures it, right? Like, I feel like when somebody asks me, how are you doing? I say it's like I'm spinning the feelings wheel, and then where it stops, I'm like, okay, that's that feeling for the moment. It is definitely, for me, this time is a time of just allowing for a lot of different emotions to move through me. And it sounds like today for you was a day of moving through some nerves and excitement as you get ready to launch this new.
Yes, exactly. It's all, you know, it's all of that. You're exactly right. So it's keeping yourself grounded and knowing like this is, and you know, hopefully this is helpful to you guys and the things that you're thinking about in your own lives too. It's like you sort of play the long game, and like the little steps here and there, you can take a misstep, or it kind of feels sad, or you're nervous, or you're anxious about it, but you know that ultimately you have your goal on getting to something. And so I will draw a little metaphor for that. And that's how dating is for so many people, right? It's like everybody, you know, sometimes we start out with our clients and they say, what's the first words that come to your mind when you say dating, love, and marriage? And the words are so different. It's like love, amazing. Is it possible? Marriage, oh my God, it's been elusive. But dating, it's always usually a ugh, or I'm scared, or it hasn't worked for me. So I think part of the same metaphor, and you know, we can all empathize because we go through it in different pie pieces of our lives, but it's keeping your eyes on the prize, that dating is just a means to getting to that place of healthy, happy love. Does that mean it's easy? No, it's messy AF. Right? It can be highs, lows, ins, out. You like someone, they don't like you back. They like you, you don't like them back. But ultimately, you got to keep your eyes on the prize, which is love. And so we're out with telling you, Alexandra and I are psychotically optimistic that all of you are here. You're here to be inspired. So we know that you're here to hear some inspiration. So we know that there are lids to your pot. And I know you agree.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, as I look at some of the questions that we got for tonight, a lot of my questions are skewing towards heartbreak and loss and recovery. And that is an important, you know, it's part of dating, right? Like we need to hold on to this both and of the psychotic optimism that we get to through the processing of the painful emotions, right? That those are, and how to honor that love and dating have all of those facets to them. And nobody asks for heartbreak. It's the shit, it's the mud. But from the mud comes the lotus flower, right? And that is that like cyclical nature. On this call, you know, the people we have today with us live, I'm sure represent all different places and where you are in the ebbs and flows of looking for love, feeling like there's love, loss of love. And then even for those of us, you and I, in these long-term marriages, there are ebbs and flows, right? I got together just a bit ago on Zoom with I have the same core group of 4 girls. We have been best friends. Lynn and I are from kindergarten, and we picked up 2 girls in 5th grade, and we've been this core group for all of these years. And so we were like, okay, how are the marriages? We're all 4 of us are in marriages. And it was just like, you know, our marriages they sort of go through these ebbs and flows, and there are weeks that are simple and weeks that are challenging. So that eye on the prize, if the prize is long-term love, it's not like you get there and then you coast forever. It's you get there and then you're riding those complexities of connection, disconnection, reconnection, which is really, that is the nature of loving and being loved, is we're connected. And I still, you know, years into my marriage, I still like, when we're connected, I'm like, okay, we did it. We got it. We got there. We're there. We're connected. And then when we get disconnected again, there's still a part of me that has to sort of like shatter yet again, that like, okay, here it is, you know, we're out of sync and we got to find our way back. And so that is just the nature, I think, of all of our relationships, but certainly of romantic relationships.
It's funny. I've been working with clients this week on this, and there's lots of love out there, you guys, right now. I'll tell you, COVID dating is on freaking fire right now. App sites are up, or app activities up, site activities are up. But with my couple of clients that I've talked to today with one-on-one sessions, many of them have found love. But I say that in dating and love, there's if you boil it down, there's sort of 2 phases. It's finding love, and then now let's say you find the love, then it's keeping the love. Right. And it's keeping the love good, like Alexandra's saying, keeping it connected. For what's interesting for some clients is they found out that when they've now found this person that doesn't have any red flags, and this person is amazing, they suddenly have had 2 clients today going, I'm the red flag in my relationship. Now that I know what I should have been looking for, and I got someone who's amazing, it's me. And so I'm like, this is a cycle. And just like we get to one phase and we think, oh, now I've got it, I've reached the top of the peak. It's like, no. And then there's another peak, and then there's ups and downs. So, but it's, you know
what though? What is so freaking cool about your client saying to you is, I'm the red flag, is now there's a fork in the road, because one road for sure is the road of like shame spiral about my brokenness, my worthlessness, But the other road is the road of like expansion, like wondering, the road of receiving, right? Because if I'm, dang, I think I'm still here, right? Okay, I'm gonna wait for Bella to come back. If I'm realizing that I'm the red flag, then it is sort of like what's being highlighted is the challenge around receiving. I think that so much of the dating process is finding somebody, and then when you have somebody, that what you have to do is open and lean into the connection. And that is, I tell you what, in all of my work with couples, it's really clear. Yeah, I'm alone, right? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for Bella to come back on. Oh wait, Mary, there she is. There she is. Hi.
Hello. I just thought I'd ghost and then reappear.
Yeah, that's right.
Since we were talking about it.
So what I was saying is like, you know, one road is the road of shame, but the other road is the road of realizing that actually potentially the red flag is it's really hard to receive. It's really hard to let things be okay. If we've been on a cycle of it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And now here is somebody who's ready to love us. Okay, shit, there's the growing edge right there. How do I open myself? How do so I think oftentimes if it's a woman with this challenge, it is how do I hold on to my story that I am strong and independent and can stand on my own 2 feet. And I'm now going to lean in and allow myself to be cared for, allow myself to trust. That can really confront some stories about who I think I should be or need to be in the world, right? Because there's no getting around the interdependence in love. And if I'm going to be interdependent, that means allowing myself to lean on you. So that's, I hope that that's what your clients are identifying as the red flag. Is like, okay, so is the red flag about it's really hard to open, relax, trust, allow, surrender, and not lose myself? Because you can do both. You can open without losing ourselves.
Totally. And it's funny in these cases, the red flag was for them, like they're both like, I take out my anger on people that are close to me. And it's like, wow, like these are really, it's huge breakthroughs for people, like things they haven't learned for 30, 40, 50 years. Because now when you're searching for someone who's whole and healthy, not perfect, but again, we always say like anger, criticism, like all these red flags we'll go through. And then to have that like, oh shit moment, like I'm the one who gets mean. Yeah. I'm like, you have to stop doing that. Like, don't do that. I'm like, do you talk to your colleagues like that? No. I said, you don't talk to me like that. I said, do you talk to your friends like that? No, only my parents, my siblings, and now him. I'm like, so when somebody gets in your safe quadrant, you see them as a punching bag. She's like, oh my God. So that's when we then forward them on to you, Alexandra.
That's right. That's right. And I tell you what, that is, you know, anger is a legit emotion. I think, especially for women, women can have a pretty fraught emotion with anger. Anger is a signal. It is rarely, if ever, helpful in its raw form, right? It is a signal from within that has to be forged in the crucible of our interior in order to then be shared with a partner in a way that they can hear, right? Because a shitty, snarky comment is never going to invite our partner towards us. But anger oftentimes is like, things aren't okay. I have an unmet need. Something isn't landing well with me. There's been a boundary violation. So my anger can cue me to something I need to turn towards my partner with, but I got to forge it in the iron, in my, you know, go for a run, do some journaling, and then present it in a way that enlists my partner as an ally.
You know, Alexandra, I know this is a little off the cuff, but can you tell the story that you posted on Instagram the other day about having chicken for dinner?
Oh yeah,
and about the stories that we all create in our minds, whether we're in the dating world, and if somebody doesn't call me back immediately, we start to what I call tell yourself the bad story. And in dating, where we say we're going to stop the bad story. He could just be busy. He's dating a lot of other people, whatever it is. Stop telling yourself the bad story, meaning, see, I'm too old. Nobody likes me. I'll never find love. That's the bad story. So, and you shared a story, which I thought was so lovely. So will you tell that story?
Yeah, I wish it was a story from my own marriage. I think it was a story I made up, you know, just sort of like pulled from 20 years of being couples therapist.
Which is fine. It's a story.
Because there's something, right. Because I'm sure there's something that's happened recently with my husband that could be, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So the example is partner A is cooking dinner in the kitchen and partner B comes in and says, chicken for dinner. And it's, you know, if you lined up 10 people, 9 out of 10 would code partner B's comment as neutral. Chicken for dinner. But what happens for partner A is partner A runs it through the filter of what Bela's calling the bad story and says, here you go again. You're always complaining. My cooking's never enough. You think I should be like your mother. Like imports this bad story about you are disappointed in me. And so that is, and it happens lightning fast in our relationships that we take something our partner says and we run it through a filter. And depending on the sort of state of affairs of our own interior, that filter can sometimes skew really freaking negative, right? I know that in my own life, I am far more likely to code something neutral that somebody says to me. I'm more likely to code it as negative if I've been talking to myself like shit all day, right? If I've been
for sure
lost in, I haven't done enough, or I'm too this, or I'm da da da, then I am ripe for the picking. I am ripe for somebody saying something neutral and me hearing it as, great, you're disappointed in my cooking. Here we go again. Yeah. So and then the antidote to that is a deep breath. I sometimes imagine sort of hands on your hips, channeling good Beyonce energy or whatever kind of like good, brave, grounded energy you need to have to say, when you say chicken for dinner, the story I'm telling myself is that you're disappointed. Okay, so in that space, you now have given your partner the chance to either say, whoa, no, that wasn't it. I was, returning an email and it was just kind of a thought. There's nothing behind it. Or then say, yes, I am disappointed. Okay, now we're having a different conversation. But the assumption, right, when we assume, we make an ass out of you and me.
I haven't heard that in a long time. I love it.
I know, it's a classic.
And and this is a tool that you guys can all use in any function of your life, whether it's a friend or a parent or one of your kids, or maybe somebody that you're newly dating, and you interpret things through your own filter, right? And you can just say, hey, listen, the story I'm telling myself is you didn't call me back because, I'm not at the top of your priority list. And the person will probably respond like, oh my gosh, no, what happened was blah, blah, blah. And it's such a healthy way to keep your relationships, all of them, in a good place. I'm not saying this is always the panacea and it's not always going to work. But again, if our goals as human beings, as much as we can, is to be the better partner, the better dater, the better friend, the better daughter, the better mom, whatever it is, the better father, it's a good tool to keep in your bag when you feel triggered, where you feel that ouch, like that little paper cut that comes up through your interpretation of something that just happened, somebody's tone, the look somebody gives you when you walk into the office, like, oh my God, my boss always says hi to me, but she didn't say hi to me today. It must have been my horrible presentation yesterday. And then we spin and we stew, and then we start, taking it out on our colleagues. So it's it's interesting. So I think that telling ourselves a story, I think it's one of the most crucial things we can do to really understand and kind of get a handle on our own emotions and keep our relationships in a good place, and it's okay to feel the feelings, but it makes us less likely to react.
That's right. And there's a world of difference, right? We aren't ever going to, like, when we think about the sort of like neurophysiology of our brains, that part of our brain that reacts quickly and kind of fights, like lashes out, that part of our brain is evolutionarily adaptive, right? That fight flight part of our brain, the amygdala. It's evolutionarily adaptive to be, if we're walking on a trail in the woods, this is the way that one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Dan Siegel, would talk about this, is you're walking on a trail in the woods and out of the corner of your eye, you see something that's either a stick or a snake. It's really good that if a part of our brain, the amygdala, that can really quickly get us to jump out of the way. Because if we were using this part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, which is a slower, more mindful, holistic part of the brain, if that part was in charge, it would be like, oh my goodness, I must take in the whole picture, understand the nature of a stick, the nature of a snake, da, da, da. And then if it was a snake, it would have bit us by now and we'd be dying of whatever. So it's good that we have a part that can respond quick and dirty and make very quick maneuvers. But we also do need to have this part that can be discerning, this prefrontal cortex. And that's the part that says the story I'm telling myself, right? That can hold on to the big picture. So when we feel that rush of reactivity, our best and bravest work is to just pause, take a breath, and then hold on to the big picture and ask a question, share the story I'm telling myself is, and just slow things down.
Yeah, yeah, it's a miracle tool. So I hope you guys deploy it, and then the next couple days when we do our IG live on Thursday, you guys can tell me if you had a chance to use the story I'm telling myself, and you can even use it with yourself if you're having conversations with yourself, right? So
Beautiful. That's
the
right.
story I'm telling myself. Yeah, and somebody just asked, I see in the comments, can you tell yourself the story too much? 100%. Where like we spin like our brains, like if you think about it, if you actually sit quietly, and this is the reason why so many people find it difficult to meditate, is we have this inner voice that just talks all the time and doesn't stop. And so much of the time, it's not good stuff, right? And so when you actually sit down, yes, you can tell yourself the story that, hey, that's a story that you're telling yourself, and catch yourself in that moment. And you'll feel powerful at that point. And what it will do is it'll take your emotions. Literally, I can tell you personally, anecdotally, I'm not an expert on this, but I can say that when I immediately go, what's the story you're telling yourself? It
Yes.
takes me from a 10 on the emotional, like the negative, maybe I'm mad, maybe I'm sad, I'm hurt, and it pulls me back to a 2 because it tells me, aha, Sherlock, there could be an alternative interpretation for what's going on here. So it's more like, your own personal homeostasis. So,
Yeah.
so,
And just to close the loop on that, if and when we are brave enough to say the story I'm telling myself. So if partner A is brave enough to say the story I'm telling myself is you're disappointed in what I've chosen to make for dinner, then I want partner B to meet A in that vulnerable place, right? And rather than rolling their eyes or saying, oh my God, you make a mountain out of a molehill, or, do something passive aggressive, I really want partner B to say, like, thanks for giving me a chance to check that out. And that's not at all what I meant, or whatever, I think when we take that brave step of being vulnerable, I really want the other person to meet us in that space, validate it, reflect it back, rather than, poo-pooing it, eye rolling, using it again later as, fodder in the next go round. So that stuff is pretty sacred, to offer each other.
Absolutely. And someone wrote an interesting comment and said, there are times when the story is true. Yeah,
Sure.
There will be times when the story is true. Maybe the answer of partner B could have been, I'm just tired of chicken. I feel like we've had chicken for 100 days. How about like I go out and grab some pasta to go with the chicken? Or you know what, sweetie? You've been cooking every single day. Turn off the stove. We'll save it for tomorrow. Let's order out. So the story could be true, right? But
That's
still,
right.
as long as both partners are invested in this, you and your new date, you and your new boyfriend or girlfriend, you and your husband or your wife are both invested in this. I'll tell you what, it's a tool that Andy and I use, like the story I'm telling myself is, and it has taken things, and when you've been married over 20 years, you can get into those same button pushing, like you can go from 0 to 100 in 0.3 milliseconds when you've been together that long. So now it is the story I'm telling myself is that look that you gave me told me you don't want to do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, not at all. It's totally the opposite. It's like game changing.
That's right. That's right. And that is true. And I will be sitting with a couple. It happens less on teletherapy because it's harder to pick up all these nuances. But back in the day when I'd be sitting in a room with a couple, their conversation would turn on a dime. They would go from open-hearted to tight and feisty quicker than I even knew. And it would be like, what is going on? And it's because, they had learned after all these years that when the eyebrow goes up like this, it means, right? So there's these micro cues they were giving each other that they knew far better than I had known yet. And so it is true that this stuff happens very, very quickly, and slowing down and then asking for a redo, right? Like, I don't like how I handled that moment. May I try again? I love that. Asking for redos with our kids, our spouses, our friends. I don't, because sometimes our amygdala is faster than our prefrontal cortex, and we say shit that we then need to kind of clean up afterwards. And then can we say, can I have a redo?
100.
Maybe we call it now like a pandemic redo, right? Because this is,
it's a pandemic.
Right on Instagram that we have a narrower zone of tolerance under stress, and we're all under stress. And so we are going to be sharp or not handle things in the most gracious of ways. And so then we need to ask for pandemic redos.
Yeah, ask for a redo. I see an interesting comment here from someone that I just want to touch on. It says,
Yeah.
how do you ask for positive verbal encouragement when your partner didn't get it growing up, but I need to hear it and he has difficulty saying nice things? So I've dealt with this, and Alexandra, I'm sure you have in your client relationships. You can just say, like, I'm a words of affirmation person. And if you haven't read the 5 love languages, maybe you guys can read it together so he can understand words of affirmation and how it is a thing and it is your love language. And he'll probably identify his own love language as well. And something that you could do, you know, this is an idea, like practical, tactical, is write out the words that you want to hear and give it to him and say, this is what I would love to hear right now. Because if he's not good at it and he didn't learn it growing up, he doesn't know how to do it. So here you get to, and you may not want to be the person that teaches him to do it, but I think if he's a great guy, it might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not to at least give it a try and write it down on a piece of paper. Like, I would like you to say this to me. Or, you know what, when I want words of affirmation, here are 20 things that you could say to me, and have him learn to do it. And then when he does it, and then don't say, well, you didn't say it exactly right, or you didn't say what, you know what, you need to give positive reinforcement at that moment. As soon as he makes the effort to do it, it's like, oh my God, that was amazing. I see you. I felt that. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a story of my marriage. I am a total words of affirmation person, and my husband feels like it just doesn't, like, why do you need it? Like, you know, I love you. If anything changes, I'll let you know. And so I will say, like, if I know, it just happened recently. I'm doing a lot of, like, housework, home management, domestic goddessing around here. And so I was aware, I could feel the bubbling of some resentment and invisibility in my role. And so I just cued him. I was like, I really would love for you to just shine on me for a bit about the way that I'm keeping this house, you know, going under these difficult times. And so I cued him when the resentment was a level 2, because if I hadn't cued him and asked for that, it would have bubbled over and he would have heard about it in a less nice way. So prompting, totally. I love that. A friend of mine, she works outside of the home and her wife works in the home. And so when she gets home from work, her wife will say, darling, would you like to go on a tour and see all the things I did today? And she will say, absolutely, my dear, take me on a tour. And that's just how they get ahead of that cycle and the need for verbal recognition. The other hack that I love, and I've done this with a number of my couples, is the person who is, in this example, the husband, right, who is struggling with the verbal affirmation. He can set a timer in his phone or a reminder in his phone that cues him to just offer an affirmation. That way he knows it's built into the schedule. He's checking off things from the day, and he can offer it like that. And I saw a comment come up that said, I feel like it counts less if I've prompted or if I know it's a note on the phone. And just don't do that part. Don't do that. Just celebrate that you got it and know that it is a growing edge for a lot of people. Potentially, I don't know if there's in our examples right now, we're talking about men who have this as a growing edge. I think there is, anyways, we could go down the whole rabbit hole, but it doesn't matter the gender. What matters is if it's a growing edge, it's a growing edge. If you can keep in mind that this makes sense given the context they come from, given the family they grew up in, then the focus is celebrating what you're getting rather than saying, yeah, but. Whenever we start to yeah, but something, it's just, we're not going to get any more of it for sure.
Yeah. And it's when someone makes that effort to do the thing, don't second guess the intention behind it. Even if you had to say, I want you to tell me 3 good things about me today. I do this with my kids. Sure. And I'll tell them, mommy's cup needs to be filled. I need you to say 3 nice things to me. And they're like, I love you. I said, generic. 3 specific things that you love about me. And so what I'm trying to do is explain to them, like, I need to hear this. I shower you guys with it. You're so used to it, but I need some too. And it's different than I love you. I know you love me, but what do you love about me? What do you love that I did for you today? And these are things that you guys can handle right now. And again, I know that many of you are in the dating process right now and you don't have a partner, but the things that Alexandra and I are talking about right now, these are tips that you can use with anybody in your life. You can use it with your parents, right? With your siblings, if you need to hear those words of affirmation. And lots of us come from places where there are, you know, tectonic plates in the family of origin relationships, and just stopping and saying, hey, guess what? I'd like you guys to say something nice right now. And nice about me. And if they're like, see, there you go again, you need to hear something nice, you're like, no judgment, just one nice thing, that's all I need, right? And that's it. So you can use these things, you know, in any facet of your life. And for those of you who are out there dating, these nuggets are going to help you. Remember, we said it's 2 phases. Find good love with someone who is, you know, for women, we call them high GHQ guys, high and good husband qualities. So that's our trademark process to find true love. And for men, it's good wife qualities, whatever. If you're seeking same-sex partners, love is love. It doesn't matter. The process is the same. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, then it's the keeping the love and keeping the love healthy. And that's where the next set of work comes in. So I know you guys have done a great job at sending us all these questions between the two of us. So maybe do you want to start tackling some of these questions?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Okay, I can do one first.
And happy Cinco de Mayo. I normally toast you guys. So here's my pink drink. So I'm going to toast you guys. This is mainly grapefruit juice with a splash of tequila. So freshly squeezed grapefruit. And then because I'm spicy, there's a little jalapeno. I don't know if you can see him floating at the top. So we threw, I don't know if you can see it, but no, because he wants to float away, but it's a jalapeno. So happy Cinco de Mayo, guys.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. At home, it's a homebound Cinco de Mayo.
Totally. Do you want me to take the first question, or do you want to go?
Do it.
Okay. So question number 1, do you recommend dating during COVID, and how to do it safely? So yes, if you're ready to date and you feel excited by the thought of dating, then I think dating during this time is really unique. And over the last 6 weeks, I've seen things pivot and change in an amazing way, in a great way. I can tell you, we have clients and we've had to gently nudge people to do the FaceTime dates, but the process that we suggest is kind of 4 steps. It's get on the apps, get on the sites, message people back and forth, right? So once you've developed a little bit of a text rapport, your goal is not to have a pen pal, it's to get to the date. So then the next step is get on the phone, have a quick old school phone chat. Make sure that, and if I just got the low battery signal on my phone, I'm going to get a charger for it. And so
Andy's going to bring you a charger.
Andy, can you bring me a charger? Because your phone is on 20%. He's going to look at me and go, the story I'm telling myself right how Bela Gandhi is. he's laughing. It's got to be a long cord.
You are a diva.
And so talking on the phone, and then the next step then is FaceTime dating, right? And the apps and the sites now, they have hustled. Bumble, Match, they have video functionality in there, so you can go straight to the video date. And then the next step will be meeting in person when we can do this. And people have said to me, I'm nervous, I'm intimidated to do it. Don't be intimidated, don't be nervous. It's actually, once you kind of get over the idea of doing a FaceTime date with someone in your house, because it's like, oh my God, I'm bringing someone into my space. Well, you don't even have to do that. You can have a white wall behind you. You're not going to tour them. You're not going to give them one of Alexandra's clients. Like, you're not going to give them a tour around your house if you don't want to. Just have something nondescript in the background, or put a Zoom background down. Zoom has some great backgrounds, and even on all these free interior design websites, you can download these adorable wallpapers to use on Zoom. That's what I have. It has like canaries and it's very pretty. So you can do these things, and on Zoom dates, what you want to really think about is prepping for the date like you were actually going to go on a real date. You don't want to look like you've been watching Netflix for 3 days and haven't showered or washed your hair. And I've seen lots of these things. It's like, no, don't do that. Dress yourself up. Look, at least from the waist up. You can have a party on the bottom. You can have your PJ pants on. If you're not going to get up, right, that's all well and good. And don't be like the anchor on GMA. Poor guy. Boxer shorts on. It's like, dude, where are your pants? You're on national TV. So yeah, I mean, and do your hair, do your makeup, like look good, have a good background. Don't have mounds of laundry or dirty towels. Like people are going to look at that stuff, right? So and after that, it's better, faster, cheaper. 30 minutes for a FaceTime date. You can have your own dang drink. You don't have to worry about who pays for the date. It just takes a lot of the chafe out of it.
It totally does. And for people who, I think what it does is, it really like slows things down, right? It's a really different way into a love story. And for somebody who loves to build that connection of fondness, getting to know each other, conversation, and then layer in seduction, flirtation, sexuality, there's something really lovely about this time. For those who like to front end the sex, this is a growing edge then, right? So you get to slow yourself down and kind of experience yourself in a different way of building conversation, building communication, going slowly. So there's lots to be, dating is always a crucible. It's always a space in which you're learning more and more about yourself. And so this is obviously an atypical way of dating, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's pointless. And it means that you are going to learn different things about yourself and your patterns and your likes and dislikes than you would in the way we were doing it before. And it's not forever. So I think there's going to be some really interesting love stories out of this time.
I'll tell you, we've had some amazing love stories already with clients of all ages. I think that worked. It's not on. Can I turn that on? Sorry, we're taking care of the power. Oh, there I go. We've had some amazing love stories. You guys, it's crazy. The connections people are making. Yeah. We have a client in Martha's Vineyard that's in her 60s that met a man that literally lives a mile away from her physically. Okay. And they have been FaceTiming every day for 6 weeks. They have not met because they don't want to take their chances. Not only do they FaceTime, you guys, but they write each other a letter every single day.
Beautiful.
I was like, oh my gosh. And this woman lost the love of her life husband a few years ago. So it's literally, it's beautiful. It can be magical. It can happen. And I think be inspired that you never know. I always tell you guys, love is coming to you. It's a when, not an if. And all you have to do is put yourself out there and start to take those baby steps back into dating, or maybe take that giant leap for you. Maybe like Alexandra says, I love that term, it's a growing edge. Like you haven't done it. You've been listening to a lot of these lives and you're thinking like, maybe I'll do it after COVID. Right now, I mean, it's a really amazing time. And for a lot of people, especially if you are maybe a little bit more introverted, or you have some anxiety around meeting strangers for the first time, the video dating, or maybe you have sex really quickly and you're like, God, why did I do that again? I just get blown away by chemistry. There's a barrier to entry. Haha, no pun intended with the screen here, right? So yes, exactly. Love will come to you. It's a when, not an if. I love this. You guys know, look at this. Everybody's posting it. You guys know this. I tell you this every week and I believe it. And I know you guys are starting to believe it. I feel it. I feel the zhuzh coming through the screen right now. I feel the zhuzh. So yeah, I think that tons of people are doing it. And the thing is I don't think video is going to disappear. Even when things start to slowly open up state by state, I am a card-carrying new member of the Video Date Club, guys, because what I feel, online dating, the most we could do before is take a picture and text 250 characters sometimes, and then decide, do I want to meet this person out for a drink or for a cup of coffee, right? And here, you've got this way for this two-dimensional person, photos, flat profile, to become three-dimensional via video, right? And somebody said, well, I don't know. Do you really know someone if you haven't met them, if you just FaceTime them? I'm like, look at celebrities. Which one of us doesn't have a celebrity crush? And we feel like we know these celebrities and we know their personalities. Have we ever met them in person and had dinner with them? No, we watch them on screen. So everyone's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. I'm like, this is what happens. Like you can develop those relationships, those affinities without actually meeting the person. Obviously, you want to meet the person at some point, and hopefully in the next several weeks, that'll be that'll be possible. But yeah, I see, you know, David, you say video chat weeds out a lot of people. Absolutely, right? It's an easier way for you to chat with people and have ultimately, you know, I like to stay optimistic, but and video dating can help you build connections on the positive side, and it can help you not have as many disappointing dates on the other side. If there's just no connection, or this person just seems negative, or is just not your flavor,
right,
you can go. It's okay. You
yep.
can end the FaceTime date. It's easy. And then you can go watch Netflix again.
And I would want people to remember that then when you are able to meet in person, it's a transition, right? It doesn't mean it's going to take a little bit of time. So whatever place you've come to around closeness, intimacy, understanding each other, then you're going to meet, and it's going to be a shift. And so I would want people to be patient around that shift. Like I think about when we go back to anything, right? When my kids walk back into their high school again, when I walk back into my therapy office again, when we go to a restaurant again, it's going to be a little bit like, ooh, like it's going to take a little bit of time to ease back in, to feel back in.
Yeah.
So I want to just kind of plant that seed for some gentleness and patience when you go from your video dates then to the first time you actually do sit across from a table or go for a walk together. It's going to be a little bit different, and just let yourself take a bit of time to settle into that space, and that you are collecting now a new set of information, right? You can see you'll be near their body, you will be able to smell them, you'll hear their voice differently. Like, there'll just be a little bit of difference, and just be patient and gentle as you ease into that next step.
Absolutely. And a tip around that just came to mind as we do kind of open up and we're able to meet people again. A great first date. We're going into the summer in every state, hopefully in the union, and the days are going to get longer, the weather's going to get better. Go for a walk together.
Yeah.
Go for a walk in a safe place. But there's been a lot of interesting work done about connections that people can form when they're actually parallel to each other versus face to face. That sometimes when we're not making intense eye contact with someone, right? Because it can feel a little vulnerable, it can feel a little intimidating. But yet think about, you know, sitting on a long car ride with someone from work, and suddenly you really get to know this person, or talking to the nice stranger on the plane, and you sometimes sit back and go, oh my God, you know more about me than like my sibling does. By the time I got from Chicago to LA, we all do that, and it's due to this phenomenon of being parallel to each other. So going on walks has you parallel to each other. If you think about it, in a lot of European countries, like if you see many couples in different countries on dates, they're actually seated next to each other instead of face to face. So going on a walk is such a great, easy way. And then you don't have to be like right on top of each other. You can still be a little bit socially distanced, a couple of feet away from each other, and have great conversations. And when you're outside and walking, there's so many contextual things that you can talk about, right? And it just makes conversation easy. For those of you who, you know, find like, oh, I'm not a great conversationalist, like, oh, now you're walking down the street and there's a saxophone player, or there's, you know, a crazy urban squirrel, you know, jumping on someone's head. It's just, it's an easy, fun date to do.
Yeah. It also, there's something that kind of when you're engaging your full body, it's, you know, especially coming off of video chats, it might be really nice to shift into experiencing this person when your full body is moving. You've got like your endorphins going, you've got the fresh air. It's just, I think that really is a really lovely example. I saw Katie with the cardigan was saying that that's how she breaks up with people, is she takes them out for a walk. So maybe you'll have you can maybe, you know, have a different experience of the point of a walk. You can, you know, walks are for more than just breaking up.
Right, exactly. We'll say, that's great. You can certainly do that. And maybe that's also easier because you don't have to look the person in the eye, right? You're parallel to them. So you can have those more authentic, you know, makeups, connections, and breakups. I think we've just had a huge breakthrough here, you guys. Walks are amazing for all phases of a relationship.
All right, I got one.
Crazy urban squirrels are a real thing. Yeah, I live downtown in Chicago. These squirrels in New York and Chicago, they're like human beings.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah, go for it.
So one of the ones that I have is I'm dating a decent guy, but I can't tell if it feels unexciting because it's healthier or because I'm not so into him. And if you know, that is definitely a thing that I talk about a lot around dating, is this idea that if we come from chaotic families of origin, if we've had a lot of chaos in our relationships, a healthy relationship can feel at the level of neurophysiology, it can just feel weird and wrong because we are used to like this, head on a swivel. We're waiting for the shoe to drop so that we're in that kind of cortisol, diffuse physiological arousal state all the time. And when you're with somebody who's decent and the relationship is going well, your nervous system is trying to downshift and downregulate and ease up and relax. But then that part of you, the ninja, vigilant, warrior part of you is like, we don't do that. We don't relax. We don't. So I think that this person is really on to something about questioning, is it feeling not exciting because I don't have that steady drip of fear and cortisol that I've had historically? That is a hypothesis. Her other hypothesis is, or I'm not into him. So I guess I would want, if I was working in therapy with this person, what I would be doing, I first would want it to not be an either or. It's not either this or that. Like it's not either that it's too normal or that she's not into him. I guess I would want to be like unpacking a bit. How do you define exciting? Like if this relationship was exciting, what would be happening? What would you be doing? What would they be doing? Like tell me the story of your vision of what exciting is. So I would want to really like operationalize that, like boots on the ground. Like what does an exciting relationship look and feel like to you? And from that place, I would want to then ask questions like, what do you think is keeping the current relationship from looking like that vision? And I would want to push the envelope a bit around, are there ways in which she's holding back? What are the ways that she is not co-creating excitement? Does she have a story that the excitement ought to come to her? That this person ought to be showing up with excitement? Okay, if so, where does that story come? What is the story of if she has to extend a bit more to create more excitement, then who is she becoming? Does that mean that she's desperate? She's trying too hard? So I would want to really be getting our heads around what would excitement look like? What is it that she's wanting? And if what we get to is there are some unmet needs or some longings, I want to then push a bit on what keeps you from suggesting it, right? What keeps you from getting a bit more into the driver's seat and asking for what you want? Because we know that whenever we have an unmet need, if it is clear, if she knows what she wants, if she's got a definition of exciting and she's just waiting for it to happen and she doesn't want to ask for it, whenever we sit with a tip of our tongue, request, need, longing, yearning, we're setting the stage for resentment, right? We're creating the conditions for resentment. And then the more she feels resentful because she's not getting her needs met, the more she is going to pull back, the more the energy is going to flatten out, and the more she is going to confirm her worst fear that this relationship isn't very exciting. So I really, really, really want to get her in the ring around, okay, so what keeps you from asking for this thing that you want? And now we may be like way into some work around who she imagines she is if she's somebody who asks. Like what did you see the women in your family do? Were they able to ask for things? What happened when they asked for things? How were those requests met by the people around her? Mm-hmm. Were they, I think we have in our culture have a lot of stories about needy, bitchy, demanding women. So there may be some sort of like fear of like that whole archetype. If I'm asking for what I want, I'm becoming needy, bitchy, demanding. It sounds very much like she would be asking for what she wants in the service of cultivating a relationship that she can really feel good about. And that's beautiful. If her intent is to ask for what she wants and needs in the service of creating a relationship that she can really feel all in on, that's beautiful. I mean, what more could she want? So those are the things that I was thinking about with that question.
Yeah, to jump off of what Alexandra said, I think this is a question that we have on a daily basis with our coaching clients, you know, and I think that it's one of the most common things that when we see people, you know, family of origin stuff, like Alexandra said, you're used to living in the state of anxiety, especially since you were a little kid, right? So when you're, in a sense, we call it activated, right? Like your whole system is looking for that activation because you're just sort of, you're used to feeling that way. And if suddenly somebody takes the knot out of your stomach and somebody doesn't activate your nervous system, suddenly you're like, the person's boring. And so, and we work a lot around this. And I think in most of the cases that we've seen, it's really our clients that have been like, God, you know what? I've dated people that haven't been good for me. Lots of red flags, narcissistic, avoidant, whatever it is, just didn't work for me. But there's a lot around that, like, meh, he's boring. I'm like, well, if there's no red flags and there's green flags, and just because you're not feeling the chemistry and the excitement yet doesn't mean you won't, because sometimes good love, a lot of times it's a slow burn and it can come, right? Love grows. And so we're so acculturated to thinking that we have to feel butterflies and fireworks and this blow away excitement because this is what Hollywood and Harlequin tell us all the time. But ultimately, in smart dating rules, if someone is nice and good and meets your high GHQ list, right, then if there's no red flags, you're going to go out with him again or her. And this is how it's like, I don't want to. I'm like, well, you've got to. And so, and which is why a lot of the love stories that we have authored, thousands of them over the last decade, not one of them starts like, we had the most amazing first date, we had the greatest chemistry. So I really think this activation, fear and excitement can often be they're misplaced inside of us, right? And sometimes we think excitement, and to Alexandra's point, we actually want to feel a little fear again, right? Because we're used to that, especially in relationships. So there's, if I hear the word boring, it automatically puts my antennae up that, aha, okay, we're seeking someone who's not good for us. So let's go and talk about that right now. Yeah. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Good. I want to do one more. I know it's your turn, but can I do one more?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. I'm in love with a colleague. He cheated on his fiance with me, and she just found out. I miss him. How can I cope with this? I'm devastated being in isolation as well. We keep in contact for work, but we can't discuss us. I cry daily when I hear his voice. So first of all, I so feel this pain. Like, this is a hard thing on top of a hard thing, right? One of the things that when there is a breakup, one of the things that we really, really want to do is establish some healthy boundaries right away so that we are taking that person off of social media, we're cutting off contact, we're taking them out of our phone, because the contact reopens the wound, and the wound doesn't have a chance to scab and heal. So what I hear is, in this situation, she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that ability to have a boundary because there's work contact every single day.
Hard.
So there's that layer. There's the global pandemic layer, in which she's saying she's isolated, so she doesn't have the ways of distracting herself. Part of how we heal a broken heart is that part of distress, healing a broken heart is about tolerating distress. And part of how we tolerate distress is that we distract ourselves from it, right? We go out and do things. We go to sometimes we don't go to do the healthiest things, but at least we are distracting ourselves from the pain. So I hear that in isolation, quarantined alone, it's harder to find distraction. So that's a layer of pain. Then the other layer of pain is this is the end of an affair relationship, right? So this relationship wasn't on the up and up. This is somebody who was not fully available to her. So then there's all of this sort of morass, the sort of moral, emotional, ambiguous morass of that, right? Because the relationship ended because the fiance found out, not because these people said to each other, I'm done and we're done. So that can create what we call an ambiguous loss, where it's like, it's over, but is it really over? And if you look at it this way, it wouldn't have been over and it would have continued. So there's that piece of it that can really inhibit healing. And then there's the part that I'm not making a moral statement about infidelity, but it is the case that when there's been infidelity, part of the healing that I'm going to want her to do at some point is her own reckoning around her participation in this, right? So she made choices to partner with somebody who wasn't available to her. And so what are the stories that created the conditions for her to make that choice? And I want her to do that without like beating herself up. It doesn't have to be like that she's bad, she's immoral, she's unethical, but it does need to be, what are the stories that you brought in, that you said, I will be with you even though you are engaged to be married, right? What are the stories that created that as being an okay thing for you to participate in? So part of what may be keeping her focused on, I cry every day when I hear his voice, is it's easy, maybe a bit easier to focus there than to start to do that interior work of, who am I? Who was I that I allowed for this? Who am I? What needs to heal in me? What do I want going forward? And that's some soul work. I may want her doing that work with a therapist, right? Because it may be, she may be turning back to things that have to do with childhood, earlier relationships, prior traumas. So it's big. It's really big. It's more, it's bigger than just, I hear his voice and I cry. It's also, I hear his voice and that turns me back to this entire thread. And yes, I see somebody saying, having been betrayed, it's a horrible thing to be the wife. It is. It's a horrible, it is the work of healing, you know, that is oftentimes, as a couples therapist, oftentimes I'm with a couple in the wake of infidelity, and it is painful work, right? People who've been cheated on, they score in the clinical range for post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a trauma to be betrayed. And there is a context where, so you have to hold on to like the pain of it, and the context of it is very, very delicate, very challenging work. And there's a ton of pain to go around. And so, yeah, so this person who posed this question, the person who posed this question has work to do around healing, not just the end of this relationship, but looking at the conditions that allowed her to participate in this, and who does she want to be going forward? How does this become her reckoning?
She is a fierce badass. Melanie, love to you.
Yes.
So you are awesome.
We see you. I see you.
See you. You're a fighter, and you're taking good steps every single day. We're proud of you. Gosh, we've like 3 minutes before Instagram kicks us off. Let's see. Quick one. What if you cut someone off after a first date because of fear, but you realize you want to give it a try? Reach out to the person and say, you know what? I think I goofed. Can I have a redo? I would love to go out with you again. And you know what? If the person is available and open, they'll say, sure, why not? And if they say no, it's okay, right? And that's your growing moment at the end of the day. It's really, I think what I was saying before, it's really important to try and screen people in versus screening them out so quickly. And we use that chemistry and the excitement as our initial filter, right? Because lust is nature's way of tricking us into attachment, right? So ultimately, you know, it's okay. Don't be so quick. If there's red flags, for sure, throw them back to the Atlantic, into the shark pool. That's totally fine. But be really slow. If somebody is a good person, screen them in and then give them multiple chances to do. But go ahead and reach out to this person. And I think it's a woman that wrote this, and she's saying him. So yeah, reach out, and you have nothing to lose, right? And if he says yes, great, have a second date. And if he says no, you move on. But at least you did it, because you are a fierce dater, whoever asked that question. So I can't believe this hour just flew by. I feel like we're just getting to some juice at this point, right? So we'll do this again together. I would say thank you guys so much for being along on this beautiful journey with us, where we went from stories to, you know, chicken to pink margaritas with jalapenos floating in there to
Raising
people.
the squirrels.
Yeah, COVID and cheating and being cheated on. And we've really kind of covered the full circle of things. So, you know, we did in case any of you are interested, and you know, we just did a masterclass last weekend called Dating Over 50 in Pandemic and Beyond. It's actually relevant to all ages, but it's on our website under webinars. If this has gotten you guys thinking, I want to know more, I might want to take a step in dating, but I want to do it carefully, I want to understand COVID and what comes beyond, it's a great class to go download. It's on our webinars page.
We're about to get cut off. Goodbye.